I'm at the wall. I want to know when it goes off. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Got some
certain control.
Well, hi friends, I'm Brian Cosby with Provide Protect, and we're up at the range today, and we're starting a series with this video on firearm fundamentals. Really, today I want to talk about the fundamentals of weapons handling and draw and presentation and trigger control, those kinds of things. And I'm with my friend Danny, and he's recently retired.
Recently retired.
Special Forces. And so I'm the student here today, and but maybe if you are just starting out into the shooting world and you want to improve your accuracy, that's what the series is all about. There's no rounds in the chamber here. But if you come across a firearm and it's just sitting on a table or something, and I think a lot of people think, something like this is just scary.
Yeah, it feels like a snake.
Like if I touch it, it might go off or something. So how would I go to just pick it up and hold it?
Yeah, so like you said with firearm safety, like you really want to keep your finger out of the trigger, right?
Yeah.
And you want to pick it up and you want to establish, whether or not there's rounds in the chamber.
Okay.
We're not pointing at anybody.
Yep.
We're not flagging somebody, but we just want to know what is the status, what is the condition of our weapon.
Yep. Okay. So, and even that, even pulling the slide back to check that is probably a very important. That's knowing the condition. So, all right, and I can see that when you pick this up, and you can see this here, when he picked it up, he didn't put his finger into the trigger guard, right? So that's probably an important thing when you just that habit, right?
Yeah, keep your finger indexed along the slide or along the side there.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and so I mean, just when generally handling a firearm, you want to keep your grip nice and high in this part of the gun, which is called the tang. Because when you start firing your weapon, it's going to want to flip on you. And in order to keep a better grip presentation and better muzzle control, basically, you want to be as high as you can with your primary arm, basically on what's called the tang of the weapon. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's going to help control recoil. And when you grip it, you want it to be a firm grip, but you don't want it to be an over grip. You're not trying to squeeze the life out of it, but you definitely want to be strong and firm throughout your grip. And then your non-dominant hand is basically going to come along inside and mesh, again, keeping it high to prevent as much muzzle flip and control as possible. And it's going to slide into this pocket here. And you can even see there's grooves, and sometimes there's even gripping for places to put your non-dominant hand. And then basically you're going to present straight out to target and bring the weapon to your eye, not your eye to the weapon.
Okay. So a couple things that I was looking at there that you were doing. One is, what would happen is if I held the firearm like this?
Yeah, so it's very non-stable, and when basically this explosion happens, when the round goes off, it's going to cause it to flip. And so you're going to feel like you're losing a ton of control over the firearm.
Okay. And obviously sometimes when that happens, you can have all kinds of malfunctions because it doesn't have you can't eject the round the case, on that. So, okay. And the other thing, in talking about grip, and presenting out, a lot of people that we see, when they go to shoot, they'll do this kind of scooping, motion. And some will do, I don't know what they call it when they go like this.
I think it's like a bowling.
Yeah, bowling. Yeah. And kind of rainbow thing. So we don't want to do that. What I saw you do is you printed it straight out. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. You basically, from a draw, you want to come generally up your body and then go straight out to target. And you don't want to be fishing your eye down. You want to bring the sights to your eyes so you can see directly down your sight picture there.
Okay.
Instead of trying to, that's, obviously you want to be aggressive in your stance, but you want to basically move the weapon to your eye and not your eye to the weapon.
Okay. Also the other thing I was thinking about for the draw piece itself. So whether you've got a cheapo holster like this or a Safariland outside the waistband, or you are doing appendix carry, inside the waistband or something else, when you are doing drills and fundamentals, there's a number of things to train for, but part of that is also the drawing itself. So just the being comfortable with drawing the weapon, whether it's appendix or here. And a lot of people, you know, if you have appendix, and I've got a T-Rex arm sidecar with me, but if you're doing appendix, you know, to practice that movement, because you got to pull your shirt up to get to it, you know. And so I think some people, they'll just go to the range and they're thinking, I'm training for, you know, some kind of scenario where I'm at the gas station, I'm at the mall, or whatever, and they're only training with, you know, this kind of thing, and they're not also thinking, well, how do I get the weapon out, right? So that's probably something to think about when, you know, whatever scenario, I guess, situation you're in, but, you know.
Yeah, like you said, there's a bunch of different holster options and ways to carry your firearm out there. I think the most important is to pick one that you're comfortable with, and then to train with it. Okay. You know, like if it's a appendix carry, you know, how are you like getting that? Sorry, I'm probably messing up.
You're good. You're good.
But how are you, you know, clearing your clothing? To get the pistol out, and if you're practiced at those motions, whatever it is, you know, if you're holding it, you know, at the 9 o'clock at the wherever you decide to put your you know, your pistol and run your. I think it's just good to train with that. You know, train like you fight. And get good and comfortable with the equipment that you have. And if you don't like your equipment, buy new equipment. So that you can be more comfortable. But you just want to build that solid muscle memory.
That's good.
And good mechanics of, you know, establishing a good grip on the weapon and presenting it in the correct manner.
And I've got, I've got this chest holster, and which I love, Gunfighters Inc. here, and something like this. You know, I have to practice this also. So this is something that they say to grab here and pull here, so it's that movement, you know. And so, that idea. One other option here for some of you guys that are maybe interested in this about drawing. It doesn't always have to be a gun on you. You know, we'll talk about this in some later video. But sometimes you know, there's a bump in the night, and you're having to think about, well, I need to access a weapon quickly, but it's typically, it needs to be kind of locked up or secure somehow so children or other people that are not familiar don't accidentally get to the firearm. So something like this is called from Stopbox, Stopbox Pro, made in the USA here. And this is, you can't technically, I don't think, call this a safe, but that's the general idea. And there's combination codes you got to push down and open it up. And you can put, and this is a smaller one here for a subcompact, but you can get a bigger one as well and change the combinations. And that's a nice little thing, because on something like this, you know, you can practice like drawing, you know, wherever you are. This is another kind of practice of taking a weapon out and using it. Now this would be for obviously home defense, but that's another thing. You know, I don't know if have any other ideas on when you're at home. And again, we'll have a whole video on home protection, but when you're at home, accessing weapon to not draw it, but to get to it, other than something like this, what would you recommend?
I think
in a home.
Honestly, I think this is perfect because, you know, firearms inertly are not dangerous, right? This thing is not just going to go off miraculously. However, you do want to respect this firearm, right? And you want to safeguard it from any sort of an accident. So having something that secures the firearm that's loaded from, you know, your kids messing with it, from an accident happening, I think is a great tool. So whatever you decide, whether it be, you know, this hand safe, which is a great option, I think it should be secured in some fashion that only you and people you find responsible in your household can access it. But I think any safe that's in your immediate vicinity that you can grab when you hear a bump in the night and you go, man, I got to go check it out. And it's to the level where I need to bring a firearm. And you can just quickly access it. And then go roll through your house as needed. So part of that weapons handling is practicing that part of it too. So it's the things that we've talked about. I mean, the presentation, all that, grip, but also accessing that weapon, whether it's on you or near you. The one last thing to talk about, I would say, with, you know, firearms manipulation and firearms control is trigger control.
Oh,
trigger control is another great thing.
So what is that? What are you talking about with that?
So here real quick, you can see I'm clear. I got a magazine in there, but it's dry. All right. So basically, the first thing you want to consider is comfortability with your trigger.
Yeah.
Right. So there's different types of safeties that are involved on triggers. For this Canic, I believe it's this red thing. For the Glock,
Yep.
it's right there, right? That's a safety mechanism that's built into the pistol. But there's a certain amount of trigger that you even want to have your finger on. Most people say you're going to pull flat, with a flat finger like this until the gun goes off. You're going to maintain that flat until you hear the click, and then the gun is going to cycle, and then you should hear that nice clunk reset. And that's basically where your wall is. But the important thing to note, and each trigger is different, is that there's basically going to be almost two walls, okay? So there's going to be the first wall that you kind of break, and then there's going to be that second wall that actually, so you can see it went a little bit more, that breaks the shot. So there's really two walls in a trigger. And what you want to do when you're prepping your trigger for shooting is to basically race to that second wall so that you can basically line up your targets, and then it's just a small movement to actually pull the trigger. So be comfortable with how much finger you have on the trigger. I would say play around with some things, see where you're finding more accuracy. I like a little bit more finger than most people. Okay. But having a nice flat, smooth pull to the rear that's directly to the rear, you're not canning it or pushing your trigger. Basically, you want that nice, smooth to the rear action and breaking that trigger and knowing where your wall is.
I want to raise one question on this, because some people will talk about, there's a debate on this, I guess.
Sure.
Get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
Is some people will say, I don't want to know when it goes off.
Yeah.
And some people say, you just want to squeeze it, whatever, until it goes off, bang. Other people are like, no, I kind of want to know. I'm at the wall. I want to know when it goes off. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Got some
certain control. There's a bunch of opinions out there. I have heard before, if you can argue about it, it probably doesn't matter a lot.
Okay. If you can argue about it, it doesn't matter. That's good.
So I think you don't want to anticipate the shot, right? Because you're going to dump your gun down, and that's an easy thing to do. So you don't want to anticipate the shot with your muscles, but at the same time, you do want to know when the firearm is when you're breaking that shot. So it's a fine balance of not being scared of the gun, right? And not being scared of the explosion. That takes training and rounds and all that stuff. And, anticipating your shot. And basically, so I think you race to the wall to prep the trigger, and then you should generally know when the gun is going to go off because you're breaking the shot intentionally.
Yeah, that's where I am too. Cool.
But yeah, I don't think it matters a ton. Okay. If you're hitting accurate shots, and stick with what you got. If you're not, you got to fix something, and then you go back through your mechanics.
Yeah, usually I see people that when they're right-handed, you'll see a little jerk kind of down to the left is how I usually see it, and that's when you kind of can tell. Oh, I've got that anticipation,
right?
And
the other thing I would say is like common mistakes. Like you can overgrip and undergrip your gun. Like if you are just lasering this thing, eventually you're going to get fatigued because your gun is flipping on you, right?
Yeah.
If you're just eventually you're going to get fatigued. So there's a fine grip. I like to be strong in my hands and loose everywhere else so that I maintain this grip, but my arms feel loose basically to drive the gun where I want. Because if I'm so tight, it's hard for me to move and transition between targets.
Yep. That's good.
But you need to find the balance, I think, for yourself.
Okay.
And how much grip, there's numbers associated, how much grip, where to place it. I think you just need to understand the basics and then continue to play and train with it until you find that fine balance within yourself. Yeah,
I know some folks on grip, they call it an overly active grip. Right. Where they're really canning their arm up and down and really kind of pressing in.
Yeah, John Lovell.
John Lovell's one of them.
He loves it
for sure. I'm not like that. Growing up, it's funny. Growing up, I kind of did the teacup kind of thing, like this thing.
Which we know is not good.
Yeah. Because you wanted to have, as you were talking about, you wanted to have kind of maximum amount on here to keep good control. So okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate all of you guys, and if you have other thoughts or comments or tips maybe that we haven't covered here today, that you can drop those down below. But Danny, thanks for being up here today, and and helping us out.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this. But if you've not already done so, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate you and your support, and we'll see you in the next video.